to Zoom meetings
Oh, good.
now until
We didn't have
I
to
think
write
January
15,
22.
22.
Oh, really? Oh, that's.
We didn't have to fight this.
Hello.
You didn't wear waders, but you wore your shorts. That was very clever. Ah,
Everybody's here tonight. Okay.
We're not wearing masks.
I'm just putting the finishing touches on my
No,
part.
apparently not.
I think they kind of going under the CDC if you're vaccinated.
If you're vaccinated, you're good.
Oh.
Okay.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Did you have a chance to go through the minutes to the-
Yes, yep.
So we- because the three of us are here.
Do we? Desiree, you said you gave me all these minutes I'm supposed to have looked at. I sort of feel
Yeah, I
like
sent
I'm
one.
three sets of minutes.
I sent an email with the
Yeah,
last
you did.
updated with all of them.
Let's see.
Well, you had already, Nancy, you had already
I
looked at
corrected-
the.
had-
I had
She
corrected.
did.
a
She had.
couple
She
of
did.
You sent most of the corrections.
Yes.
them. Yeah,
And you can't vote on the last one
no, because I wasn't here.
because you were here.
Got that. Well, let's put this away now.
Sick of this rain.
Oh, I know.
It's gonna be 57 degrees tomorrow morning though.
It's 7 o'clock and I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals be open. I'd like a motion.
So move.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
First order of business, we have minutes to meetings that we have to catch up on. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 2nd meeting.
Second.
Nance?
Aye.
Aye, okay, there's only the three of us, so
Yeah,
the
aye.
meetings for the second are approved. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes to the meeting of March 3rd. The only people that were here are Nancy and Dave and myself. Okay, so move, okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 7th. So moved, approved.
Approved.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of May 5th. Good,
Yes, good.
all right. One more, minutes of August 4th. Dave, John, and Campbell were also here. I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
Approved.
Cool.
Aye.
Good. All right, that being done, I would make a motion to reopen the public meeting for the Tuxedo Club. And I guess, Karen, would you like to present what changes were made from the last meeting?
Okay. I will open the Zoom meeting, so. And I'm just gonna move this out. So since the last meeting, we prepared the planting plan to just illustrate to everybody. I know that's not your purview, but.
Well, we want to know that you have, we
Plans.
want to know that you have a nice planting plan for the BAR to approve.
This is the planting plan.
Okay,
It's extensive. There's a lot of screening in this area that we talked about. I'm sorry. Trees as we can. The purple are the trees that we are keeping. including the oak specimen on the corner of the building. We're taking away a lot of the plants in front of the clubhouse, except for some of the dogwoods, so that you can see the beautiful architecture of the building. Putting a big island in the middle, that where all the stormwater will go into, and water, and we're putting oaks in the middle, along with some chablos at the end for flowering trees. On this area
Question over
here.
If you don't mind. So these green is all, that's
is
all new
new,
plantings,
yeah,
right?
And this is existing.
So
the pine
how,
tree.
if at all, does this affect the sight line?
So,
Because right now, I think this is open, right?
right, so right
Yeah,
now,
none of-
there's a lot of trees in the pipeline that are coming out, actually.
Well,
There's
yeah,
not a lot.
but
There's only one or two that are in the sight line that are coming
Yeah,
out.
there's in this sight line, but the
Right.
250 feet, there, almost all of them are in that 250. Here's, I can show you the
You're like
ones.
20 trees.
Yeah,
Well, here's the 250.
this is the 190, this is 190, but
Right.
250 would go back like that.
The 250 goes back from here. That's the B. That goes back
Yeah,
from
that's
here.
from this
there.
intersection,
Yeah.
but from this intersection, it goes like this. The 250s. This is 190, so it's another 60 feet this way. So, but we could actually accomplish that site distance, but that would mean we can't plant anything. So that's really the only reason we're asking for the sight line.
So where's the existing parking lot right now?
The existing parking lot,
Point it out to me on this one.
okay, on this one here, is the here, this
No,
dash
over
line.
here, on,
This is
no,
the,
no, oh, keep going.
the parking lot
Yeah, right.
on the road.
Right, yeah, where's that?
Oh, it's right here.
So basically, you're cutting down all the trees.
We're keeping all these in here and we're
Well,
taking
no,
the
no,
trees out
that's,
right here.
there's a whole bunch of them up.
There's
here.
a whole bunch
Yeah.
of them along the,
Beautiful old trees, one might say.
well, the Tuxedo Club does have a report from Ira Wicks, arborist, suggesting many of these come down because they're pines and spruce trees and they're weak wooded and if you look at the trees carefully, you just see the trunks and the big screening for the club is the stockade fence. So we have the list of trees that we're removing right here. So here's where, so this is where we're cutting. And then these trees right here are in the 250-foot sight line.
but they're just the trunks, right? So you
But
really
just
can
the
see
trunks.
through there. So my question is, the
Yes.
new plantings you're putting in, how tall are they?
So that's why I drew the sightline visibility on here that we're trying to protect. And it's right here. And we're not putting any,
What's the existing sight line versus what is it?
the existing sightline I'll have to show you on the existing. I didn't draw it on here, but I can show you
So
approximate.
you understand what I'm asking, right? There's an existing sight line. How is that going to change?
The existing sight line is changing.
Main parking lot.
So actually, there are a couple other trees it's out of the main parking lot and the existing sight line is more like this.
All right, when I say existing, I mean, the new opening is going to be here.
Yes.
And there is a sight line
Yes,
to here. How is that going to be changed by the plantings that you're putting in?
it's not, we're
It's
gonna
not.
maintain, no,
Okay.
that's the reason why we're asking for the sight line is
Mhm.
we could actually, if we didn't put any plants in, you can actually see the 250 feet. But we wanted to be able to screen all the cars in here. So
Mhm.
that's why we're asking for the sight line change. And
the-
just so
The
that you know-
190 is this point, this E
Yes.
point to the center of the car, and
Correct.
there's not planting in that
We're,
area.
yeah, we have it all shaded so that you can see that we're gonna keep that clear.
Mhm.
And again, we can, when you're out there and you look, you get that 250 feet with a few of the trunks in the way,
Right.
but we want to be able to plant this out And mind you, it's only for a left turn. They have to see the car coming this way. And it's rare that people make a left turn because it's employees that come in and they will be leaving this way. And it's the service vehicles, they never make a left turn, they always go right.
No, I understand, but you have pedestrians, you have bikers, you have other people coming around. So when just hold on one
Yes.
second. So when I am coming around tonight, I can see quite a ways right now around the corner.
Yes.
So I'm just concerned about how this planting scheme is going to affect that.
So we're staying right out of the sight line. Away from the sight,
So you're saying when you put that in, I'll have the same viewing capability?
right,
Okay,
because everything will be pruned up 6 feet or higher.
okay.
The only things, the canopies of these trees would exceed, but, and we can make sure Casey prunes everything up 6 feet and higher.
Okay.
All the shrubs are, as you can see, not at all in the sight line. And then and just so that, so you're aware, we're taking away 15 cars that you have to be in the road to be able to see if a car's coming. Because when you have a car parked next to you, you have to pull away from that car to be able to see a car coming. So we're taking away a dangerous condition for 15 cars. And we're putting in the only dangerous condition here, not really dangerous. The only thing that has a 190-foot turn is if you make a left. All the right-hand turns, which is the majority of the turns, are completely safe because as you can see all the way down here. So we're taking away 15 dangerous spaces and putting in one more exit point. And this one is the same pretty much because we have one ingress and one egress. So the only one we're adding is this one.
Why couldn't the employees go around the triangle and come in on, southbound and then back into their
So the reason why we did this is for a couple reasons. It's not just for employees, it's for the service vehicles, the garbage trucks, and they have a tractor trailer that comes in here. And we were also made it so that a fire truck can actually get in here and back in. But right now we have it so the garbage truck can come in, pull up, grab the garbage, back up only a little bit, and then he can go out. And the same is true for the tractor trailer. He pulls up like this, backs into the zoning dock, goes straight out. So the flow works very well right now. These big trucks are turning around in here. There's people walking around. It's an unsafe condition for all the, the employees that are working. And we minimize the backup to, like right now, they have to go in and back around and then get out. It's very difficult right now. And the other nice thing is we're separating all the service vehicles from the members parking. So there's going to be no trucks or garbage trucks or anything going into the members parking area.
I've never noticed any.
But there is, but they probably go at off times actually. So yeah, they probably go up. But the nice thing is it's better for fire or an emergency vehicles as well as. And then, as you know, we did design this. We had increased impervious surface area in here to get this big area for a fire truck to be able to make a turn in and around. So this area is a little bigger than what it is now, and basically it's so that a fire truck can get in. That's the whole reason. And we added a few parking spaces.
You're not adding any more employees, but parking spaces, are you? I
We
mean,
have 15.
and there are more.
And there's
out
15
there on the
over
road.
There's 15 over here, and I believe these are 15. I meant to count these before I came, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 17, so that we have 2 more. We also put 1 space over here. By code, they're supposed to have 1 employee handicap space, and when we put it here, because obviously, you can't go up steps and get in if you're handicapped. So there's also room here. We put in 4 handicap spaces just in case, and to meet the letter of the law. The other thing we're asking for is, I might as well show it to you on the planting plan. Is
Just a
the-
quick question.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're a garbage truck or a delivery truck, how many actual times a week do we have to consider a garbage truck or a, just rough?
It would depend on the day of the week. It could be as few as 3 or 4 deliveries of garbage trucks or large vehicles. It could be as many as 7 or 8, depending on the day of the week. There's days we get garbage picked up depending on the time of the year,
Mhm.
3 to 4 times a week. We get food and various vendor deliveries.
So it's seasonal.
It slows down in the winter or the shoulder seasons, but it's all year round other than the month of January, pretty much.
Okay.
How many trucks a day on average, would you say?
So we're between 6 and 8 in peak season.
Did you want to talk any more about the sightlines?
Well, I think Mayor McFadden was quite clear that he was very nervous about the sight line. At least he sent us all emails.
Yeah, but that's not part of the public record, quite frankly.
Well,
Sorry, I'm confused. What about the sightlines?
Let me just jump in here. Any person is authorized to submit comments as a public citizen. So I would suggest that that's how you consider those comments, just as if it was anyone else
mhm.
sending in a
Ma'am.
comment about the sight line.
We didn't know anything about those. I don't know about mayor's comments. So we can't really comment on that. I mean, if you want to share them, but I don't know.
No, I just want to say that I think the sight line 190 is very worrisome.
I would agree. And what I would say about that is when we did this plan was first developed over 5 years ago by the committee with the club, working with the facility and master planner. We then updated that plan now, okay? And one of the reasons we stuck with the original plan was the ability to make these 15 spots go away, both from a beauty standpoint is great, but also safety. Because there are employees backing out into a road around a blind corner. I backed out of it once. It's not good. And the closer you are to this end of it, the worse it is, quite frankly. So one of the things we loved was putting this buffer in, but also making things a lot safer for what is 15, 16 employees at all hours of the day. So that was the genesis of why we really did this.
So the concern is someone coming out of here, primarily a big truck, right? Because a car can just make it quick, but a big truck coming out, and if you're coming around the edge, you're like, oh, wow, there's a big truck there. So I know I've heard that concern voiced as well. I guess here's a question, right? To mitigate that concern, when you have a large vehicle coming out, is it possible to have some, I don't really know what that looks like there, some flashing yellow light to make people coming around the corner aware that there's a big truck coming out?
Well, I know, do you have,
I'm just asking the
No,
question.
it's possible from the village end. I mean, we didn't discuss it or consider it.
we did make this curve big enough so that the truck can,
How big is this vehicle that's here, drawn on the plan?
it's like, I think 14 feet, 12, 14 feet. Dave
So,
has the turning templates if you want to see what a truck.
well, it'd just be interesting to see what an actual truck size vehicle would look like. So, a lot of the trucks are probably box trucks that are 30 feet long, so a little over double that.
So this is, I'm Dave Getz from Engineering Properties. This is a 46-foot box truck trailer.
And that's much bigger than,
Right, and we even sized this
we
based upon
sized it here.
a fire truck design. This outside is just an overhang, but the inner curves are the actual wheel tracks, but we sized it for a truck even larger than this, a fire truck, an aerial fire truck, and that's what these curves are. We had Karen open up a couple of the radii to allow that, but that's what a 46-foot truck
And
would
they're,
look like.
I think your trucks are the smaller version.
Now, in the one, this direction with coming out of the parking lot and taking a right-hand turn, that's where you hit the 190,
Right.
right? And if they're coming out of the parking lot and taking a left-hand turn, I think it's like 220.
Oh, it goes beyond.
Well, no, if I'm looking at the,
Making a right-hand turn. Worry about It's traffic coming, from looking left, it's well over 250 feet. Trucks making a right-hand,
So
making a
the
left-hand turn where the sight line is, you're looking this way, where the sight line is a little
Right-hand
shorter.
turn is the problem.
No, the
Oh,
left.
the left-hand.
left-hand turn, in other words, if making a,
You can see 500
looking right and making a left, okay, that's going here and making a left, that's where the 190
Yeah.
comes in.
Correct.
Looking left and making a right, we're at 220,
You asked,
according to your,
you asked about frequency,
right.
okay?
That's why I was asking, you know.
Yeah,
there's something-
trucks taking, any vehicles, there is probably at best one vehicle a day that would take a left-hand turn out of there truthfully, and that would be somebody going from the main clubhouse to tennis. Most of the traffic and the employees, there's nobody's going left, they're going right to exit the park. You know, so I mean, is it possible occasionally that someone takes a left-hand turn? Yeah, honestly.
So now currently they would exit here. So actually it's a shorter sight line the way it currently
Yeah,
is,
we
right?
can the demo plan so you can see that better. Here, it's right here. And I mean, it's,
It's 240 feet right now.
Okay,
From, this is the sight line
okay.
for the
Right.
current exit to there. So that's really the crux of the variance, is that 50 feet for people that are making deliveries or coming out this new curb cut, if you will.
and it's basically it's so we can get plants in to screen everything.
And this takes into consideration, is a change in elevation, right? This
Yeah,
takes into
you could
consideration
just
that too?
stand there and look, like that's what we did. That's
There's
how we
actually a
measured.
flag out there on the lawn. If you're walking by, there's a little red irrigation flag on the lawn, which is lined up with where the driveway is.
But the big thing is that this, you know, these are all going away because these are extremely dangerous. You can't even. see
I don't
pedestrians.
disagree with you. I kind of drove by there a couple of times, just today again, to just take a look at that. And, you know, you have to say that someone coming out, everyone, you know, there's 15 shots coming out, backing up into
And
the
then-
road.
If there's a car here, like I took a picture of it. There's a car there, you can't see anything until you're way into the road.
And the other part of this, you know, safety is a huge part of it. Getting these parking spots out of here does create, you know, it's a better entry for everybody in the community, and that was part of the thinking. I mean, we looked at other options, but we kept going back to the original master plan from 5 years ago, because quite frankly, we'll call it Disneyland. We don't want you to have to see it behind the scenes. That's part of the goal here. So, I don't know how that's gonna work out for me if I'm not careful. I think you'll be just fine. We already got a costume for you.
So, and then the others, we calculated the impervious surface area. I do apologize, your plan did not have the fact that we need a variance, and we updated everything on this plan. And the impervious surface area that exists on the 36.8%. What we're asking for is 38.5%. It's 1.7% more than what you already have. So we're asking, so that's the other variance. That's the reason why we're back here right now.
Correct.
Because we didn't have that one on.
Well, you also didn't have the additional fence too.
Right, we put
Okay.
yes, we put the fence in. If the BAR doesn't want us to have it, we could.
Right, but at
Take it
least if
out.
you're in front of us and you get.
Yes, that was a great idea. Yeah. So, yeah, we put the fence here, and I didn't show you on the landscape plan, but that is all giant arborvitae's, 2 rows planted 6 feet apart staggered, so it should make it very thick. And the beauty of having the fence is it's the deer's last thing they like to eat, but they do like to eat them, like they eat them in Central Valley, they don't, and Goshen, but they don't eat them in Highland Mills, which is right next to Central Valley. You can't figure it out. So if by chance they ate the lower branches, the fence is there. So, so that is the beauty of having a fence. But I talked to Casey, and if he notices any browsing, he would, put a temporary fence up during the winter time. So we have the Green Giants screening the fence, so that you'll have the screen fence plus the Green Giant screening the screen fence. And then the reason why we lowered the height of the variance to 7 feet rather than 8 is we wanted to fit nicely right under the cap of the this stone wall here, the cement wall that's going to stay. And it's 7 feet is higher than the dumpster, like it's 2 feet higher than the dumpster, so we don't need it any higher than that. So we lowered it to that height.
John, is there, would we need to officially approve a pole height? Is that,
In the past, we've considered lamps under the definition of a fence, and they can't exceed the front yard or side yard height requirements unless they get a variance. The front yard requirement is 4 feet. The side and rear are 6 feet. I believe all of these fall within
they're either 12 feet or 10 feet. The existing ones that you have there right now are 12 feet, correct?
They're actually 10 feet, but the 12-foot ones we're putting in the rain garden, that's some 2 feet down, and also just a couple in the service yard. All the others.
Well,
are
as
10.
far as, we would only, if you need a variance for the poles, we would only give you a variance for the height of the poles. Anything to do with the lumens, the light, the type of light, that would be picked up by the BAR.
But you would consider the height of the light on top of the pole, right?
Yes.
Because that's the
Yeah.
12 feet of light on top of the pole.
Right, that would
Okay.
be the total height.
Yeah,
Okay,
total
so you
height.
can't
Okay.
exceed the total height.
It would be 12 feet is what our maximum.
All the
With the
lights
light.
are in the front yard, and the front yard max is 4 feet without a variance.
I'm sorry, was that noticed? No one requested this variance, so it was never noticed.
Well, it was not,
It wasn't part of the original application.
Part of the site plan.
So it wasn't part of the application to the BZA.
but it's kind of like,
And I do have a question about that. Oh, sorry. In here, it says that no lighting source shall be more than 20 feet above ground level. So that's why we thought this is a dark sky compliant regulation. That's why we thought it didn't need to be noticed.
Yeah, but the 4 feet's nowhere in the lighting section of the code.
Yeah, there's nothing that says that. And
No,
in the
I
fence
think
code, there's-
I think that's because these are, the height of lamps are considered in the same
Oh.
section as the fences are considered. Is that correct,
That's the
John?
way it's been determined in the past.
That's, and I can recall other applications where.
well, those applications were lights that were on top of stone pillars. Okay, that's where that came in. Okay, there was never really, we've never really addressed just the pole itself.
And can I see that?
that's the lighting law, the exterior lighting law for 6 feet apart.
Is this in the zoning regulation?
It's an amendment to the zoning. It's the last one that's highlighted.
I would leave this determination up to the building inspector as to whether a variance is required. Just remember that if a variance is not required for a 10 or a 12-foot pole in the front yard for this application, then that is the determination and no application is required.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned, I'm not concerned about granting it. I'm a little bit concerned that it wasn't asked for. And I'm a bit concerned that it wasn't in the notice that went out in the paper. So the neighbors weren't aware of it. That's my only concern here.
Can we move forward with the plan without the lighting,
You can, but they'll have to come back
the lighting portion?
for the poll.
Oh,
I mean, they could go to BAR, BAR could comment, but they would have to come back
For the poll, just the poll.
for the poll unless the building inspector between now and then comes, determines that there's a different interpretation.
Is there any latitude given because these are matching the existing poles at the existing height?
They're new polls in a
But
different area.
It still wouldn't prevent you from moving forward, though. You could-
No, I understand that. And we thoughtfully looked through the whole lighting codes. And so to know that this is somehow an offense code, I just don't want to hold up the project, number one. Number two, I wish we had known that somehow fences were related to the light pole.
Yeah, they
So
should say pole on the fence.
I mean, we'll look the code and I'm sure it's there somewhere, but
It
it's
doesn't
just a little
say
bit of a
pole on
surprise
the
for
fence.
us, that's all.
I did look at the fence code, does not say pole in the fence code.
Again, I
So,
think.
But it's John's determination.
Yeah, it is the building inspector's determination. He would make that interpretation. And he would consider other properties in the past. that
I
have come
think
forward.
that, I agree, we could move forward with it without the polls, let it come back on the polls and have that be properly noticed, because obviously we don't want to set a precedent where people put in 12-foot poles every place.
I can understand that. As long as we can move forward and go to the BAR tomorrow and keep progressing so we can try to do this in, a time frame the club set out for us.
Okay.
So, but we'll just come back next month with one more request. So hopefully that's the only one.
And we're still getting in our green cards from the 37 properties we had to notice.
But John has,
Yeah, here's more of that just came in though, that's been trickling in. So this is part of that.
Is the only ones.
No, we gave you a whole bunch last time.
Now, the drainage was also discussed, and I think there was a notice from the was approved, correct?
I haven't
We
seen
haven't
any
heard any.
feedback. We submitted a report and did calculations.
I think I got a letter from Andrew Warren that we take no exception to the drainage report as prepared.
Okay.
Okay, so you do have approval, you have approval on the drainage.
Doesn't it drain onto Westlake Road? And what happens to Westlake Road when all this water?
Well, I just
Right
looked
here.
about a half an hour ago.
Yeah,
A
it's a
good
lot of rain
example.
right there.
So, but to your first question, we were proposing 3 stormwater basins. This one with an existing lawn area, a smaller basin at the end of the proposed island, and a third bioretention basin in the vegetated area behind the new fence.
And you can this is also. there,
That's right,
so.
right. And as Karen mentioned before, this is it's a depressed island, so stormwater, we're encouraging stormwater
To go into that.
To
Yes,
water the trees.
to go into vegetated areas, and we provided calculations using the area and the depth of those basins to show that they store more runoff than the excess that would be created by the construction. We also did some soil tests at each location and found that the soils are suitable to soak, to infiltrate water into the ground. We provided a report, and actually we didn't know.
But we would just basically, that is for the village engineer to approve, not for us to approve.
Yes,
But I mean, it's good to know that you've done it and it's approved.
Yeah, you had a question last time, because we're asking for that variance for additional coverage. We're making sure we're mitigating that impact.
And we're also cleaning all the water. Right now, all your water goes into basins and right into the stream. Now we're putting it through soil, which takes all the particles out and cleans a lot of the nitrogen and the phosphorus and things that are bad for like
Sediment.
sediment.
The
So it
water-
doesn't sheet across Westlake.
No,
it's
it
going
runs,
right
there's
through
an
this.
asphalt curb along the edge of the road, and right now there's plenty of water running along that to a basin, or a stormwater basin that's in the driveway that heads towards the tennis courts. That's the low point, and that water from that point enters I guess, the connection between the two lakes.
There's a stream there.
Yeah, but now we're putting it in green space, which is much nicer. And we're using it to water the oak trees, hopefully. And what one of the bar members wanted was sparkleberry holly, the red, they have red berries that persist almost all winter long. So that's all the plants in the middle of it. They like this kind of environment.
I just wish you could save some of the trees at the, well, where the employee parking lot's going to be.
We're only taking down trees. The tree plan was done 9 years ago, if I remember right, about 9 years ago. These were all trees that were marked as beyond their normal life, so to speak, the ones that are coming down. And on a tree count, when the time comes, we are actually putting back more than we're taking down.
But much smaller, obviously.
Oh, I used to be much smaller, it takes time. But we are putting back, and we're putting back again, things like the live oaks, the oaks rather in here and different things. So I mean, it's, you know, there is some, there are certainly some trees that are going to come down, but I think the plan when it comes back, interestingly enough, we've recently found some pictures from the 1920s of the clubhouse. One of the trees we're leaving in front of the clubhouse was there in the 1920s, which is kind of interesting. So I think it's a pretty thought.
And it's like a lot of the trees are species.
I think they're trying, I think the public is trying to comment, but
They break down.
I think the public is trying to comment from the Zoom call-ins, but I
Oh,
can't do much with the.
David McFadden was talking.
Well, the next one is public. We should be.
You should be, when you're finished,
Yeah.
then you should open up to the public for comment.
Any more questions? No? Thank you.
Zoom meeting, but I,
Perhaps there's someone-
Is there anyone else who'd like to, from the public, like to make a comment? Ann?
Well, I'm one of the 30-something properties that live nearby. And my concern to all of you is impervious surface area. Situated on the town and village drinking reservoir, stormwater runoff is a significant concern. In the proposed plan, by removing said 20 mature trees, you create 50% more runoff. Trees not only concern, but they also offset. By maintaining shallow rooted mud lawns, widening and extending gravel walkways, you increase the surface area for more potential runoff, especially when it freezes. These landscape design choices should be refigured into total impervious surface area calculated, but is not. The club is situated on the site distance. The club is situated on a busy intersection of cars, trucks, bikes, children, pedestrians, dogs, and other construction utility vehicles. The speed limit is 30 miles an hour. It's not 20 and it's not 10. I suppose the sight line is a missed opportunity, especially with the number of guests who visit the club who may not be familiar with the need for heightened attention while driving in the park. Now, the parking. We want to see another parking lot, especially an employee parking lot that's lit at night. Well, not necessarily. We understand the safety concerns. However, will an undesirable change produce in the neighborhood character or adjustment to nearby properties by creating and granting this variance? Found that many trees, it's going to look a whole lot different, and it won't be necessarily positive for those who look upon it. Thank you. Respectfully submitted.
Is there lighting in the employee park?
there is. It's completely dark sky compliant, meaning the bulb is recessed into the top of the picture. So there's no upward thrust at all.
Which one is that? Is that this?
That's this one here.
Okay.
And it's very similar looking, but it doesn't have the bulb down here. It's up in the top and it's meets all the official dark sky compliant regulations. And we purposefully did that so that I have the photometrics, there's nothing that leaves the 0-foot candles on the roadway.
What's the existing?
With the Central Park fixture, and that's chosen by Olmsted way back when, and
Quite
we're
nice.
matching the fixture just in this area.
But over here right now,
Yeah.
there's not, I thought there was like overhead lighting, no?
There, I
Mistaken?
think there's overlay.
I think there's lights on the poles,
the
you know,
pole.
just like the typical
Right.
lights
Right,
throughout the
Big
village. There.
street lights.
Yeah,
Right.
big street light. that's
But
up on
those
the
are gonna
pole.
remain,
They're
right?
gonna remain.
So I'm not sure that lights here would, that noticeable if those lights are still here, right?
Right, and also the fact that we're completely, recessing.
No, I
it.
understand that, yeah.
Karen, I wonder if there could be plans added to this. I know it's on the other side of the property, but since Tuxedo Club's asking for a lot of variances and wants to do a lot of different things, I think there should be plans to decrease the runoff and erosion into the lake adjacent to the club and the boathouse. Well, you took down a privet hedge that everybody decried, and the village wanted you to clean up this. You know, the geese droppings erode or whatever they do, sail down into the lake from your lawn. So I think you need to have a vigorous vegetated border at the edge of the lake. This is sort of a quid pro quo.
Well, that's not part of this. This came up
Well-
once a couple of years ago at the BAR. I offered actually to meet with 2 of the BAR members that were really concerned about it. They never took me up on the offer. I'll make the offer again. We can look at that as a future project. I mean, we're always trying to make the club beautiful.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just, I
Because
made the offer 2 years ago.
It
when we were
can't
doing
be
the
very
tennis lot.
beautiful for all these people in their high heel shoes to be walking through goose droppings
Even
on
in
the
loafers,
lawn.
it's not good. And so I'll make the same offer I made 2 years ago when we were doing the tennis parking lot. I am happy to meet with people and talk about those concerns and put them into the hopper for future things. I mean, we're all trying to make the club beautiful, so I'm not against it, but we got onto other things, and I'm sure it'll come up tomorrow night is gonna be my wild guess at it. But we're happy to always listen. So.
Excuse me, I think I could chime in a little bit. Casey Clausen, I'm the director of grounds at the Tuxedo Club. Right after we removed the hedge along the edge of the lake, we definitely received some complaints. We actually went to the BAR. It's got to be a couple of years after that, somewhere along the lines of 2016. We provided a drawing to the BAR. We installed 3 drains on the above ground side of the walk path along the lake to help with the drainage. And we also planted plant material along the edge of the lake itself in between the walk path and the lake. So that was to satisfy the needs of the BAR at the time.
Well, hopefully they'll bring it up again.
I'd like to make a motion, if no other comments, I'd like to make a motion, to close the public hearing.
I'd like to speak if I can.
Oh, great. We didn't realize we had someone to speak.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, David McFadden. This looks like an exciting project. I have expressed concerns to the BZA about road safety, which is my highest priority as well as the chief's highest priority. And the chief and I are both concerned about the cut onto the main road that is the exit point for the employee parking lot as well as the service area. And I'm bringing that up because I'm hoping that there might be an alternative you would consider rather than making a cut there, which would be to make the entrance a two-way in and out for the parking lot and the service area. The chief and I are concerned that it becomes a blind corner and a very busy intersection with the two other yield areas. So I wanted to mention that we're very concerned about that and would like you to consider a different solution than putting in that cut. And that is my comment.
Do we address that at this point in time? As does the applicant address that at this point in time?
I think the applicant, if they can address it or they can,
Well, we
Not.
did kind of address
Yeah.
it, but if you
So I'll address it. Anything's possible. Okay, but in terms of how we looked at this plan, one of the reasons we're here is for a sightline variance without measuring, but knowing the property pretty well after 3+ years. I can tell you that I would be more concerned from a safety standpoint coming out of, even if we made it wider and jiggered things around a little bit, okay? Using the new proposed entrance as an entrance and exit, I see you looking left with shorter sight lines into a blind curve and oncoming traffic. I think that's far more dangerous than coming out and having over 250 feet to the left and 190 feet to the right. Anything is possible, but I think we've had a professional and experts look at this, and I think this is the safest solution we can come up with, addressing our concerns for our employees as well as members using the club. That exit, I think, is very problematic, quite frankly, where it is. We could maybe move it a foot here, a foot there, like you always can, but I'm really concerned about the lack of sight line looking left, particularly since all the employees are going to turn right out of that parking lot as well as any trucks. That is a much shorter sight line and I think very dangerous.
May I?
it shouldn't really be a back and forth.
No. You made a comment and they addressed the comment, so.
No problem.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if it ever becomes an issue, you could always put a stop sign here. So people coming around the corner have to stop, right? I mean, if it really became a safety issue,
Or a
it could be addressed.
Or could you mandate right turn only?
You could mandate right turn only.
That's an option. We've discussed it. It forces a few people right that would like to go left, i.e. club employees going to tennis. But if that is the biggest thing we have to give, it's something we can. I actually think it's 190 feet. When you stand out with the red flag and pictures yourself sitting in a car or a normal sized vehicle, I think it's actually pretty good sight lines. As Karen said, there is some brush and lower things we could take out. But again, we're trying to be thoughtful and not take out more plantings and material than need be, which is why we're requesting the variance. If we took out those plantings, we could make the sight line, but we then open up that corner even more, waiting for things to mature. So this is, what I would say is long-term, when the other things mature, maybe we go back and we look at trimming those things that are there now and trying to create more sightline, but I'm really hesitant to do that if we don't have to.
I guess if we did right turn only, they really could just come around and just go right around the
No, they
little
would
circle.
It's an awkward turn around the island, but that's what we would do, quite frankly. But I think that's got its own set of goofiness, for lack of a.
Look, I mean, to me, it's all about people paying attention, right? So if again, we're not talking about on average 5 large vehicles a day, how hard it would be just to have a flashing light so that, okay, there's something going on, people are now paying attention and they can see that. I mean, I'm not sure how expensive that is. I'm not sure how it will fit, but that to me deals with the caution aspect of people pulling out. So.
Yeah, but then that's more of a, like to neighbors and stuff, are they going to want to hear beep, beep, beep all the time? I mean, I think
the flashing lights.
yeah, I think safer would really be if people were concerned about it, you do kind of a right hand only and
And then they go around the triangle.
And then just go around.
People who
triangle.
want to go left,
Well, I
go
think-
around that triangle.
The bottom line is there can be remedies if it turns out that it's not as safe as what we thought, right? So,
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you can.
You could certainly consider, a year or two after the construction is done, everything is in, that the applicant present a safety study. I mean, if there's been a problem or, so you could, if you grant these variances, you could condition those variances, that sightline variance on something, a year into after it's been done. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but there should be perhaps something where the applicant would come back to renew the site plan or something like that. Just a suggestion. You don't want to wait until there's an accident, but maybe if there is a concern, and then there's another concern about right turn only, and then you go around the triangle.
I think that's more of an issue than, I mean, what we're talking about is large trucks doing that. That's the issue, right? We're not talking about cars.
Well, I guess the
No, I don't
question-
think so. Large trucks, delivery trucks, garbage trucks, they're gonna go out right because
They
they're
don't
exiting the
always,
park.
Randy. They go up Clubhouse Road and go the back road too sometimes, if there's traffic.
Well, I can modify those behaviors with my vendors
I
as
know,
well.
but we don't complain about that, that's what I'm telling you.
I mean, our intention is that they go out to the right, just like the employees. In terms of the vehicles that would go left, it would be the 3 club vehicles, quite frankly. I mean, it's limited. There's no reason for anyone to, quite frankly. So, but I have no problem, looking at it over the course of the year. If we have issues, we won't wait a year to address them, quite frankly. But I think this is a reasonable compromise at 190 feet, quite frankly. If people are observing the speed limit, I think it's a reasonable amount of time.
Karen, this is a little after the discussion, but is there any way of lessening the impervious surfaces by using some sort of pavers that let the water through? I know you never seem to like them.
Oh, I do like them, but not here because they're just so
They're so what?
modern looking, like pavers don't. I don't think we would be able to get them approved in the parks, by the BAR.
And leaks.
Well, but if they let the water down,
The impervious surface, it's 1.7% increase, if I remember the correct number, okay?
I know,
Most
but
of
it's
that-
always an
No, no,
increase.
but
It's always
most of
an
the
increase.
Is actually in the employee parking lot and loading dock area where that all drains into one of the retention bank, the 3 retention tanks that we're putting in. That all pulls right into one of those bins. So while it is increased, there's no question about that. It's not increased and leaving our property is the intention, the way the design is.
Right, and we're cleaning it, so what we are doing is cleaning all the water. Right now, none of the water is cleaned. So we're actually improving the condition of water in the lake. So we didn't, nobody asked us to clean all the water, but we wanted to just to water the trees, and because it's a best practice. It just makes sense this day and age now that we're doing it. So we actually are benefiting the water quality of the lake already by doing this, rather than leaving it the way it is.
Because it goes into the retention basin.
Yeah, it goes right into,
Yeah.
right now, it goes right into the
Right.
storm drain and right into the lake. Without getting
We're putting
cleansed.
a filter in the way effectively on all the water on our property, on the center of the property.
Yeah, so we are improving the existing condition.
Okay. I close the public hearing, make a motion.
so move.
second.
Or discussion? I mean, I'll lead it off, all right. To me, I feel that the elimination of the employee parking along this whole line and those cars backing out into Tuxedo Road is this plan is way more beneficial to safety than what we have currently. All right. And the fact now that like a fire truck can come in there, the fire truck can come in here, certainly improves, the ambiance of the whole club to me. And I mean,
I'd agree.
to me, the cars all lined up here, and, no offense, they're not typically sometimes, we don't have Mercedes-Benz lined up here, okay, so.
Oh, too bad.
So, that's just, and really, the fence is somewhat of a non-issue as far as variance goes. The only real variance that we're talking about is this sightline variance and the fact that the club is making changes to a use that
It's non-conforming.
it's not conforming. Okay, so I that's kind of my comments on it.
No, I agree with that. I think it is sort of, you come around and you see this loaded up with cars along here, it doesn't look attractive, absent the safety issue, right? So you're doing away with that, which I think is good.
Well, Karen, just try to have them save as many trees as they can, please.
We did. And we're putting a lot back.
I'm not taking out any extras.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Because
Only on the
there's,
golf course, but that's just because I don't like them.
I'm good. I think I share your views.
Okay,
Considers before it makes a decision. So, undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to properties nearby. It sounds to me as if this board believes that reducing those cars, getting them off the sight line as you go along the road will actually improve the character of the neighborhood. Is that correct?
that and also the certainly having an employee parking off-road and also the change to the front entry of the club, which is overdue.
Okay. Now, the next question is whether the benefit sought can be achieved by some other method feasible to the applicant other than an area variance. It sounds to me that they can't do that, what they're proposing without these variances.
Correct.
So the answer to that would be no. Whether the requested area variances are substantial. And again, this weighs toward your decision, but it's also considered within all of the other factors. The sight line is, I would consider substantial if you agree, but weighing against that is the safety of people not backing out into the street. Is that a fair assessment of how this board views that?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything to add to that you haven't said already? Okay.
And I don't think the impervious area is significant, given the relatively small nature and the fact that they're doing more to clean up the runoff, existing runoff.
Right. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood of the district. It sounds to me that the area that you would be concerned about there is stormwater and
the vegetation.
So the planting plan is acceptable to this board?
I think you need to have bigger trees,
Well,
as much as you can
planting plan really
afford
will
them.
be-
Maybe less trees, but bigger,
Yeah, the planting plan will be reviewed by the
the architectural review board.
BAR.
Mhm. And you've already mentioned that they're actually cleaning the water. The water will be cleaner as it percolates into the stormwater area. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, do you realize how difficult it is to keep these stormwater basins in good repair? Because it takes a heck of a lot of weeding and care.
Hey, that'll be Casey's job. That'll be Casey's job. He's good with stormwater and I think he's gonna have quite a job ahead of him tomorrow morning.
That's 100% true.
And then the final question is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created which that consideration, like substantiality, shall be relevant to your decision, but not necessarily preclude granting the variances.
It is self-graded because they're making an improvement.
Also, since it's already a pre-existing non-conforming use of the property, that weighs somewhat in their favor under the law. Okay. Anything else anyone would like to add?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Tuxedo Club's application as
Absent the lighting, right?
uh,
The only thing is that That's the
The
building,
lighting pole.
yeah, the building,
we're only, at this point, we're only approving the variance is requested.
okay.
All right. And the lighting is not one of those variances requested.
Yeah, they would have to come back for that.
Do we
Okay.
vote on this individually?
No,
Or
you can.
that is to
well,
say, are we doing it as a bulk, the three things?
Generally, I prefer that. I like my boards to look at it holistically, unless there's one variance that is not going to be granted.
Yeah,
And then,
I can't vote against the site 190-foot site variance.
okay, let's take that separately. Then you want to do a vote on that, a motion to approve the site variance.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the sight line variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
Approve the other two together.
And that would be the lot coverage and the fence height. And that is from,
You have two, you have a 7-foot fence and a 6-foot fence,
okay,
correct?
from 4, right?
You have a 7-foot, you have one 7-foot fence and one 6-foot fence.
We were making it both 7 for ease.
Both 7 trees, okay, you have a 7-foot fence. How
Okay.
you gonna get a 7-foot fence? You just stick it up in the ground
Isn't
a
it
little bit?
set on a stone wall already or
The
something?
existing one is, but the stone wall's moving, so
Oh,
the fence will be on its own. I think the beauty is if it's 7 feet, we can always make it 6, but 7 is the design.
So do you have a motion on that, Mr.
I'd like to
Chairman?
make a motion to approve the fence, 7-foot fence and the extension of the coverage.
Second.
aye.
Aye.
We did good, we got an answer to vote with.
It's rare and it will continue to be.
You have to be our conscience.
I do, somebody.
May I just ask one question about the lighting, just so I'm clear what we need to do? There is no variance that was sought. And the reason for that is that your regulation provides for lighting should be no more than 20 feet. So we don't exceed that. So do I understand that the building inspector will take a look at that and report back to you as to whether it's needed or not? Because it's pretty clear and unambiguous. It is an offense, it's a light, and they can go up to 20 feet. So
I would ask,
unclear
like I
by
said,
the
I would
time.
ask the building inspector to ask to find it to clarify what variance would be required.
appreciate that.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next we have O'Neill and Gordon on 457 Westlake Road, parcel 102.1.15, seeking variances for setbacks related to the garage addition and proposed greenhouse.
Thanks. I am Brian Lisinski, architect.
Okay,
I'm board with the applicant. Maybe I could just introduce the house briefly. So after living at 55 Clubhouse Road for over a decade, and that's the next application, and one of my wife's business partners having a uphill house, we played a little real estate monopoly and sold and then bought 457 Westlake. And unlike 55 Clubhouse, this house really, we bought for the land because it had really no architectural virtues. It was built in the late 70s and early 80s by a series of people with kind of founding taste. Our idea is to make it a house which is contextual and which is going to add to the architectural beauty of the park. And we've been through the bar, and the idea is to create kind of a house that would be happy in the Belgian countryside with steel windows and
I can't move, Jake. That's a bit of joy.
2 acres and a house of under 4,000 feet. So, you know, it's relatively modest in size, but I think it's beautifully proportioned in scale. Our idea really, and the reason that we're here, the lot is long and narrow with quite a bit of lake frontage, and we want to accomplish 3 things. The first is the entrance gates as you come to the house are white brick. Again, another mistake from the 80s. And so what we're seeking to do is clad them in a way which is nearly identical to the next door neighbor, you know, Turtle Point and Rock Point, which have local stone, which was created by the original Italian stonemasons or variations thereof. So that's the first thing. So cladding the existing gates. The second thing is we have a dock and have a pontoon boat on order, which I don't want to, when we're not in town, have sitting on the lake, because I don't think it's as attractive as seeing the lake undisturbed by boats. So we have asked to have a 3rd bay added to the garage, which is away from and just continuing the garage so that we could put the pontoon boat inside and out of view. And the 3rd is a modest greenhouse, stone facing the road, the same native stone, and then steel similar to the windows on the lakeside. Again, fairly noticeable, but kind of a small gesture and not that dissimilar from the greenhouse follies down the street as you go on Westlake Road. So the rest of the application, the building envelope itself, has already been approved by BAR. We're removing not only the crazy gutters and rationalizing the windows, you can kind of see that even though it's not part of your purview, but we're removing some of the driveways, so we're not asking for method. We just create a house which is more historical.
So this is the existing house, and this is what's.
Which way would the garage, which part of the garage would be extended? Is that towards the lake part or
towards the lake? So basically the garage is perpendicular to the road right now with 2 bays.
Yep.
And we're simply looking to add 1 more bay going towards the lake. So it's essentially going to be invisible.
How do you
from the
propose?
lake and the road?
Right.
You see-
I visited the property. How are you taking the boat out and putting him in that? Pontoon boat? Yeah, but where? I know you have a dock, but to get it on the trailer, you have to have a ramp, right? To get the pontoon boat on the trailer, don't you? How did you get it out of the water onto the trailer?
The trailer has wheels. So you're in Tuxedo probably once a year. And the rest of the time we don't want to leave the boat out. It's that part of the lake, if you go from Rough Point all the way around, has no other housing. So rather than have the boat sitting on the lake, we'll just pull it.
No, I understand that. And normally you have some ramp in the water to take the trailer into to put underneath the boat. Do you have that now, or is that what?
We will get something that will be able to temporarily take the boat out.
Could they do it from
Yeah.
either the town boathouse or the club boathouse?
We could do that as well.
Yeah, that'd be,
Whatever it's.
that'd be I'm just,
No, I'm trying to understand you want out when you're away. And so how many times do you envision taking the boat out and putting it in? Are you just taking it out seasonally? Are you taking it out multiple times a year? What?
I would think that we would probably take it out either 1 or 2 periods a year, and the rest of the time it would be away. We were just gone for 6.5 months, so we're gone for significant stretches.
and greenhouse is facing to the right, across from the garage.
On the opposite side.
Opposite side of the house.
You're facing the house to the left.
That's right.
Okay, when we had the submission, we only basically had the first page of this. Correct, John?
I sent in this full set was what was submitted.
I have something I can't read.
What? Yeah, that was basically it. That was the front, that was what we got. Yeah.
Would you have to take out trees to extend how many trees would you have to take out to extend the bay? Because there's a couple of trees that are about 10 feet. I don't think you'd be able to do it within this.
Not for the garage. There are a few small trees, but
I was there actually, I took a picture of it and I just, I'm trying to think how much room there was, so. You could probably get a bay, but you'd be right pretty close to.
Close, so, there may be 1 or 2, and we're happy to plant 1 or 2 somewhere else on site.
The kind of the issue obviously here is the 100-foot lake. All right, it's somewhat of a, you need a good reason.
I don't think we've ever passed in my years.
Is there any ability to go the other direction?
Well, no matter what, you're.
I know,
still
but
within
at least you're
100
not worsening the situation.
We originally proposed pivoting the whole garage to make it parallel to the road, and Barr felt that it was more appropriate to leave it in the direction it was in. We were happy to go in either direction, but it's a ZBA and a Barr issue.
they would rather see the end of the garage than have the long expanse and the doors facing the road.
Toward the road.
Toward the road, exactly.
What about putting that bay behind it?
Massive and it's visible from the street, because when you think about it, the house is only really visible along Westlake Road, and so that's why they wanted to maintain a relatively narrow sightline at the side of the building. I mean, we're happy to go in either direction, but I think that's sort of respecting their intent if they didn't want to make it wider or just road.
I think this distance from the lake is a big deal.
Would you approve it the other way? Closer to the road?
Yes, I would. I've served for 8 years on earlier planning boards, and I don't think we've ever let anybody build within 100 feet of the lake, including some very famous person. Mr. Hennessy, who was the chairman of First Boston. At one corner of his lap pool within the 100-yard setback, and he was not allowed. One corner, tiny corner.
Could we go back with your tacit approval if you're comfortable and seek to add a baby way? if that works for bar.
I think what you tell Bar is that the zoning board is very concerned and the likelihood of getting that variance may not be very.
You see from the site, it's just such an unusual site, so long and narrow. There's really nowhere that can be built without needing some kind of.
Having said that, this board cannot sort of give you a tacit approval, even if you might. It just
So-
sounds like, and I'm just listening to you, Nancy. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I mean, the kind of well, I said it earlier, that 100-foot is a kind of a tough line across.
So.
And the problem that you have too is that no matter what you do, you're still gonna be within that 100-foot.
And
I
I think the
mean, no
other,
matter where you put no matter what you increase the garage, you're still in that 100-foot.
the other issue, I think, I mean, you have a 2-car garage there. I understand you want a 3-car garage, 2 cars and a boat. I don't know of anybody who stores their boat on their property here.
Give your boat to Art in the winter time.
It would be cheaper to have Art take it away every time you want, man, take it away.
It'd be cheaper than the garage addition.
Who is Art?
Art is.
The boat guy. Everyone uses
boat
the
guy.
boat.
Your
He
boat-
takes
your boat
it- he takes your
breaks.
boat out, takes it up to Greenwood Lake, puts it in plastic.
Yeah, it's perfect.
He's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
$300, I think.
For, a Duffy, and that was like $1,000.
Yeah.
A year.
So, in terms of the gate, is there any feedback?
The gate, I think, is, like I said, like the same thing with the greenhouse. Although I have kind of like, the greenhouse is a little bit, if it was somewhat of a, it's a fairly large structure right now, the greenhouse that you're doing. All right.
Are you gardeners?
Yes.
Apparently. Or you hope to be.
Now, the fences are something that,
Really too. So back to the-
no, that was it. The whole thing here is,
So you're also asking for these fences here? Is that what this is? Is here, sorry?
They're both existing, so it's recladding the existing.
Yeah,
gates with stuff.
it's to increase the height.
But taller.
It's also
Yeah.
to enlarge the
Yeah,
garage,
so it'll be-
install driveway gates, and increase the heights of the pier.
So the gates already exist.
Yes, yeah, there's a photo here.
My neighbor,
I'm sorry.
guy next to me bought the house. Something like this. That's all.
Yeah, because we didn't have what you would do with the gates on these drawings. So we were only kind of given this. 2 pages. Well, I printed the packet out. I don't think any of it's got. Right?
I got so many emails, that's why I'm not sure about what.
This printout is directly from the same.
Okay, so.
same file.
that's
But this is what's existing now, and there's 2 of them, one on.
Okay, no, okay, got it, no. So the variance you're asking for is what?
To reclad them and
Yeah.
height.
But the cladding is
not.
not a variance.
What?
Just the height is a variance, not cladding. is
Right,
not a variance.
Right, it's adding the cladding is increasing the height.
And what's the difference in height? Sorry, I seem to have missed this too.
It's an extra, well, we're asking for 6'8", so it's about an extra 18 inches from what's there now.
Which is very similar to what we.
Well, I mean, it's this.
Yes, honestly, I would not have a problem with this variance, but I do have a problem with the other stuff in the lake.
What's the zoning height, 6 feet?
4 feet in the front yard is permitted.
Oh, 4 feet.
Which is, this is 4 foot.
Right.
But like you said, we've, typically
Yeah.
we give.
We have-
we give
Yeah.
pretty much approval on something like this.
And the scale was based on, we're spending a lot of time.
No, the scale's right. That's not an issue.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, it's not an issue.
I think it will look a lot better.
Yeah.
We're all in
It's a
agreement on that.
low bar there, but
Was it, we said for a lot of the house. We're hoping to improve.
Have we finished with the greenhouse? Did we do the greenhouse?
If you would like to go on with the green, we haven't finished with the greenhouse.
Oh, okay. No,
Why don't we take a close look at it?
Since you haven't.
Like I said, we really hadn't seen it.
Apologize for.
well, you had it nicely stapled.
We do get a lot of emails. All right.
So this is the side facing the road. So we're also proposing the stone wall, the field stone wall, to match the stone around the lake. And then the greenhouse itself would just extend another 3'10" over that wall. And this section, the topo line, there's a natural hill that's at this end of the site. So part of selecting this site was that this is going to conceal a lot of the greenhouse as you're coming south, heading south from the lake.
So you're putting a field stone wall all the way across, connecting to that gate?
No. It's
inside.
behind. Yeah, you can see the gate is
There.
forward towards the road. So this is
This
setback.
is here.
This is setback. This is the wall right here.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
And this is just square panes of glass, this greenhouse?
this is the roadside. This is if you're on the lakeside.
Right.
It's a metal frame greenhouse with large pieces of glass.
Mhm.
John, were there any neighbors that had any? I didn't see any letters, right?
No, the neighbors have been notified twice. So one for the application.
Speaking of that, we have the proof of mailings.
Yes.
And we also have the affidavit of publishing.
You have that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Neighbors have been notified twice, and the application was before the BAR, and then notified return receipt before this evening's meeting. I received no negative comments regarding this.
So this is, with respect to the greenhouse, you were looking here now from the lake on the spot. Right.
This is from the lake.
Right, so what is between the greenhouse and the lake? It doesn't appear to be a lot.
There's
A bunch of trees.
Yeah.
Bunch of trees,
they're all-
so would it be, I guess what I'm thinking about is if the sun is coming over and it hits the greenhouse and it's all glass
Hot.
coming back out, the glare and whatever. If there's not, in other words, if there's stuff nothing between the greenhouse and the lake, you're gonna have that glare, right? It's a big greenhouse.
There's tons of trees.
That's what I'm asking. I don't,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I hear the trees. There are some trees to be removed, which is always sad.
There's a few, but we're trying to be very careful. They're relatively small. Most of the larger trees tight to the road. Yeah, there are a few that look maybe much younger.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not any of the significant trees on the site.
John, there's no impervious surface issues here with the
I don't like that.
size of the lot.
What's that?
We're below, I have to look at the bulk table on that sheet, but I don't think that was,
We're well below the impervious.
100-11.
And we're reducing the paving on the site too, to more than offset anything that there's a large goes around this tree that's paved.
And what is the distance from the lake
let me see the one in here.
for the greenhouse?
The closest. it's
The allowance
75
under the
feet.
code is 24,000 square feet, and you're only using 10,000 square.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
So the closest corner of the greenhouse is 75 feet from the lake.
So can you move it back toward the road?
I mean,
We're
it's-
moving everything toward the road.
It's really finding, just trying to find, I don't say sweet spot, I don't know how sweet it is, because we're already now proposing 30 feet, so we're getting, close to the road. So we wanted to not have to remove any of these larger trees and then take advantage of the natural topography to help to minimize what you can see.
Because
the other
basically
hand-
it's sort of imperceptible from the road and lake where it's sited now. But it is it's a narrow, long site.
I mean, when you get to that side of the lot, I mean, you're down to 100.
How much it gets, yeah, we're kind of locked in.
Yeah.
Do you think the greenhouse is different than a garage in terms of the lake?
Well, that's a good point, and I was just thinking about that. I think it looks more attractive than a lot of things you look at from the lake. And you probably won't see that much of it anyhow without the trees.
It's really about the health of the lake. I don't think it's so much about the aesthetics. It's just not wanting to build anything too close to the lake. Isn't that my understanding?
Well, it's kind of what the code is,
Right.
you know, and,
Code doesn't want you to build.
yeah.
I mean, ironically, the house is a lot closer to the lake than the greenhouse would be.
I think you have this lot that was approved that is basically too narrow, right? And you're just dealing with that, but I think the applicant's trying to make it a lot more attractive because it, could use that. So I think you sort of have to weigh those two things.
I know, but I don't think we can set a precedent by
We're not saying a
letting,
precedence, property by property. As long as you
Well-
treat everybody the same way, it's property by property.
yeah.
Well, one of the things that we've done, and I know it's not part of the purview here, is
Hard corners, as you're right.
there's an organization called 2/3 for the Birds, which is that
Called what?
2/3 is called 2/3 for the birds, and 2/3 of the planting material are food for wildlife.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then we're not going to be using fertilizers on the property. I think that we'll have to be a lot more conscious about the past. We're net even, we're slightly reducing impervious surface. And so, I hope we're doing our part in a small way. But it's an ongoing process. We just planted a lot of grass to get rid of a lot of the invasives that were on site. The mayor was kind enough to work with us on the adjacent property. So, I see positive momentum here. But the property also.
I drive by every day.
Yeah, I mean, the property was in pre or foreclosure when we acquired it, so it hasn't been well maintained. So, the greenhouse is going to be virtually imperceptible. You'll see a small amount of stone wall. There's a natural berm that'll be in front of most of it. You'll see a small amount of stone wall from the road, and it's going to be very hard to see any of the last side.
Well, it does sit up 10 feet high. I mean, it's not a narrow profile. I mean, it sits up 10 feet high and it kind of sits on top of on the other side of a wall that's 6 feet high. So, it will be, it'll make a statement. I'm not sure whether the scale, might be a little much for, for what you're being asked for us to approve.
Take it down a foot, Brian.
Yes.
There's
There's nothing that's saying that it has to be 10 foot, that extra foot, bringing it
I
down.
mean, what kind of plants you growing in there,
That's not my purview.
California, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's not yours.
What? Right. That's kind of,
It could be lowered. Yes.
yeah, I mean, personally, I may, like I said, if the garage, I would struggle with, if the greenhouse was, say, maybe a little, a little bit of a reduction, maybe take it back from the lake just a couple feet and make it a little smaller. I'd look, I think personally more favor to it. I don't know what the rest of the board feels. And I personally don't have a problem with the way you're doing your gates and posts up front.
Yeah, I mean, the height is really not in our purview, right?
What?
At least the height of the.
Well, it's the overall scale of it is something that.
If they don't need a height variance, then no. But I think what the chairman is saying is that when you grant variances, you're really looking at things like, how's it going to affect the neighborhood? What's the character? So you can take those into consideration.
The next door neighbor across the lake has a massive greenhouse, which is highly visible from the
Oh,
lake,
indeed.
the chateau.
Hugely high.
Yeah. This is a tiny
Yeah,
fraction.
this is a fairly
El Reyes.
hidden part of the property, right? I mean, the garage is
Well,
quite
you're
open
right.
and more problematic,
Right.
at least to me. I think the greenhouse is a.
We want to work with you on the greenhouse, okay? It's basically, I think, what we're trying to say. We want to work with you on the greenhouse.
The overall, the enclosed area it's 750 feet. So although it's long and, responding to how the site is oriented, the overall size is pretty fine.
Yeah, I mean, moving it a foot, I don't know if that really makes a big difference.
No, they're talking about cutting it down.
But you were mentioning.
No, moving.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, just, to reduce the
variance.
required variance, okay.
But then you have variance for the road, right?
Yeah, but that's much less important in my mind.
And you're,
I only use the foot just to say, just to make a point of reducing the variance requested.
What's
It's
the
not a
variance?
percentage base.
What is the difference? Right now, it's.
Yeah, there probably is an issue there too.
It's 75, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 7.
Required front yard setback is 75.
So you need a variance,
You don't
So
meet
that's
that as
this
a
line
standard.
right there
so you still need a variance
for the road.
for the road too.
Not as important as the lake.
Right now, they need 39.2 feet for the variance for the front yard for the greenhouse. And the lake, they need
And what's the width of the greenhouse? 15.
So it's 15 by 49, is that what it is?
Yeah.
it's a cement foundation slab.
We're gonna use the same field stone that we're using for the wall to pave the floor of the greenhouse. But it has cement foundation walls that are at grade, just above grade.
And it's a glass, it's a glass roof, correct?
It's right, it's
It's a peak glass roof.
What, just curious, I'm just thinking about the plumbing and stuff. Obviously, you have plants in there, they're gonna be watered and everything. Do you have runoff that is?
It's going to tie back into the house, so there's not going to be anything, no independent systems.
So stuff in the greenhouse, no way that gets transmitted to the lake. This is a point.
Not everything is going to be, well, everything's going to be organic anyway, but
Right.
everything comes back into the house.
Well, I think it's a low impact building. I think it's, it's organic. I think that's good for the lake.
The only question I really have is the garage stuff. I think we can work with.
If the greenhouse is okay and the gate and fence is okay, I'm happy just to forget the garage and go to Greenwood Lake.
Greenwood Lake, you'll love it. It's a wonderful place.
For the park, but I think that sounds like a very fair compromise if that's acceptable to the board.
Good with that.
No variances because he's not changing the garage.
No variance for the garage.
For the garage, that's off the
It's
table.
not, because there's an existing garage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so,
He's adding a bay,
Yeah.
right, he's adding a bay.
okay,
No,
Make it
he's
come
not
closer to
adding
the
a bay.
lake.
So we'll
Now,
take the
okay.
garage off the table, right?
oh, okay, got it.
So you won't change the footprint of the existing
Okay.
non-conforming garage.
So you were withdrawing your applications for variances for the garage.
Right, so if we look at the,
Public comments.
Well, you need to open the public.
yes, well,
If you guys are finished.
I would like to open public comment.
So moved.
Do we have any public? I'd like to close public comment.
Give them a minute or two. Is there anyone?
There's two people online. No one has mentioned anything about speaking.
Okay,
And I did check, they can't hear.
okay, so then, hearing no public comment, no one here, you can close public, motion to close.
Close public comment,
So moved.
board discussion. We kind of already had it, but we really need to kind of take a look at this public notice then. The public notice has it broken down where the greenhouse has a proposed condition and a variance, and the distance to the lake is, you have the house, you have the garage and the greenhouse, so I don't know, Lisa, can we take this is
I have this, just, you will not be granting variances for the garage. So you don't even have to deal with that.
okay.
If they change their mind and they want to put the garage back or whatever, or make it bigger, they would have to come back. So you're really only looking at the other variances. At this point.
Greenhouse and the gate.
And then going through, do you want to go through those
Yeah, let's go through the factors.
and we'll consider them together then?
We'll consider them together, yes.
Okay, so whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties by granting these area variances for the greenhouse and the gate.
Certainly not, they'll enhance properties.
And whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by another method that's feasible for the applicant to pursue other than these variances?
No.
No.
Okay. And because of the shape of the lot, really.
The unusual shape of the lot.
Okay. Whether the requested area variances are substantial.
Well, certainly the greenhouse and the lake setback is a substantial variance.
And you would consider granting it because there's not going to be any runoff really into the lake? And because
Because it's green.
And because it's green.
Because it's
The
green.
nature
The nature of the
And
structure.
because-
Basically, we have a soft spot for a greenhouse.
So low profile, was I correct in that it's in kind of a depression in the land? It kind of sits down. Did I mishear that?
No, but
It sits behind the wall.
well, there's a wall and there's also a
There's a lot
small hill that's closer to the road, so it's
So it's
partially
hidden
concealed.
from the road.
Yeah, when you're driving north to south on Westlake Grove.
But now we're talking about the lake setback, correct?
No, that's,
The front yard setback. Okay. And there's vegetation. Okay. What about the setback from the lake? For the greenhouse?
No, we're aware of that. It's only a 75-foot setback.
So it's a
What? Sorry.
25-foot.
Yeah, 25-foot variance.
So from the lake,
I would say that is a substantial variance, yes.
and the reason for considering a variance is because, well, first of all,
There's no other place that can be.
This is really the shape of the property.
Yeah, and the nature of the structure.
okay,
Yeah, make sure that it's clear that it's because it's a greenhouse and that it's not like
Right.
another
no, it's-
regular house,
Yes.
a guest cabin or something.
yeah, so one of the reasons I would assume that you have that 100-foot setback is because you don't want houses and populated structures close to the lake with everything that entails. So a greenhouse is,
Which is why we didn't approve the garage, basically.
right. Okay, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Okay, and whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Really are.
They're always self-created.
Somehow change that. They should go back and change that one. They're always self.
It's always self-created.
Well, sometimes they're not.
It's a
Some-
non-conforming lot, right? It's an
Yeah.
odd-shaped lot, so it's,
Okay. Sometimes you have lots that are really small that were created that are vacant, and if you don't allow something to be put there, you know.
But that's still self-created because then you bought the lot.
Yeah, you bought the lot, you should have known, but so that's kind of that context. All right. All right. So
I would like to make a motion to approve the variances required for the greenhouse and the gates.
second.
Aye.
Favor? Aye. All approved?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, that's not a greenhouse up there. It's a pool. It's a pool.
Oh, yeah.
You think it's hot outside in summer? It's hot in there.
All right. Good luck.
Take care.
Good luck.
It'd be great to have somebody fixing up that property.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, I go by there all the time.
Right,
I mean,
right,
because I go out of South Gate every day and.
I went and walked.
Yeah, it's nice to see it. Yeah.
Did you come all the way from Birmingham to this beautiful weather?
I did, thank you.
Wow.
You guys are kind of,
Okay, right now we have the applicant. Now, Elise, I'm not sure how to deal with this. We have 55 Clubhouse Road with a slew of variances requested, and then we have 57 Clubhouse Road with quite a number of variances. I'm not sure how, do we take it together? Do we take it one by one, or how do we,
You've got to make them separate because
well, they are submitted separately.
They are
Yeah.
separate,
Yeah.
or
They-
there's slightly different ownership of each lot. Different parcels, different-
well, you definitely have to take one at a time then. Why don't we,
So yeah, so you have some that pertain to one property, some that pertain to another property, and some that pertain to both properties. Did I understand that correctly when I read through this?
I think there is one complicated issue where there is a
chimney that encroaches on the other property. But for the majority of them, you know, they are separate parcels with separate variance requests.
Is there a reason they weren't combined? Campbell and I were talking about this, why the lots weren't combined?
Why would they be combined?
Because they're creating one structure, right? One residence, basically.
Well, no, the barn and the barn or carriage house is on one lot at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
And their plan is to add a connection point between the existing house and the barn,
right,
and then change the barn inside the living area
right,
to increase the living area of the downhill structure.
right. They're making both lots into one.
No. Both lots are staying separate.
No, I understand they're keeping them as separate lots, but they're living on the whole two
Mhm.
lots, right?
Yes.
Well, I think they're, at least what I heard yesterday when I talked to Matthew, was they were going to keep I guess the uphill lot as a guest house, because it is a separate property. Someone's actually renting it right now.
The other fundamental issue, we only issue one C of O per parcel.
Right.
The board has never wanted to issue more than one C of O for a parcel, concerned about multifamilies and renting and things that might exist if you had two C of Os per parcel. So right now, there's a C of O for 55, there's a C of O for 57.
So clearly we need to deal with them separately.
You do.
No question about it. So which one do you want to present first?
I'm Chris Rebels, I'm here on behalf of Matthew Molly Tenari. I don't have a preference. I can follow your lead on the docket.
55.
Start with 55.
55?
Did you send out electronically?
Yes. Have the notice.
Yes.
Did you do the video as well?
I did, yes, sir.
That's the-
This whole thing.
Structure. We are
I can't hear you.
we are maintaining existing structures, so there's no footprint addition except for a minor addition of about 12 inches off the stone with a fireplace.
And the window pop out in the lower house, right?
Correct. The connection is floating in the air, so it's not
It's steel.
steel and glass.
This here.
And that allows you to, I guess, to bring the C of O from the lower house into the carriage house.
Correct.
But the variances that are needed, where to start, but they're proposing to just closer to the front.
Now, at this time, or is this is all we've been given at this point in time, which are basically, footprints with notes. Okay, we have no kind of elevations. It's a little difficult for us to understand.
Elevation of the pop-out.
My understanding, all
Window.
of that was sent to you.
I do have architectural elevations if you want. The BAR has reviewed them. And
I can share any of that with you.
no, I can pull up a copy of the architecturals if you want.
Sure.
I think
I'd like to see what the pop-out window looks like. I didn't quite understand that.
Definitely show you guys kind of the, probably be helpful, the animation of the structure. I guess everybody is familiar with the property and has seen the current state of
Wait,
it.
Nancy, if you want to press
Yes,
play on
yeah.
that, you can see.
Is there a video?
It's a
It's PG, okay?
Yeah. But if this- you guys seen that too.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That's the top out.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think that's a great gate.
Mhm.
You can see the glass connector, glass and steel connector. Do you see that?
I have to admire them for undertaking this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Imagination.
Beautiful, beautiful. Looks like the Cotswolds.
No matter what happens, like Club House Road, very soft, but
Yeah, Can't do anything.
So thank you.
I think a lot of it is just necessary to make it a viable. That's the problem
Mhm,
for their family.
mhm.
And we're trying to, I think everybody knows we're
Okay.
really trying to preserve the integrity of the existing structure. Not only the aesthetic, but the materiality and.
Okay.
The flooring, the
Visual
stable
interest.
flooring. You're
It is
keeping,
gone,
The gates are
gone,
three.
it's deteriorated, it's mostly dirt.
no, I
So,
thought it was quite nice. The herringbone flooring?
oh, we're keeping, we're gonna reintroduce that, but it's dirt, the wood, rot.
Hmm,
It's just terribly deteriorated.
right, right.
It was, it was 18th century, late 18th century.
The only thing I worry about, if you'd like to know, is the pool. I'm not so crazy about all these pools.
Have it on my screen.
They were looking for find a house to put a pool in. That was their,
Really?
yeah.
For a long time. We've
Heaven's
been
sake.
up visiting them for several years with them and they love tuxedos, so appreciate that too. It's a wonderful community.
How close will this pool be to this neighbor? And the neighbor, I guess, hasn't.
It's basically a cocktail pool. It's pretty
Go ahead, right.
small relative to the rest of the estate.
Do we need to have the spa or whatever that is?
It's not my program. I'm following my client's program and they want one. I know that it gets cold here, so they'd like to have it.
So what?
It's all
That's
sort of enclosed by the wall, so I don't think it's not gonna be a visual.
this, by this, is this,
They're large walls.
Yeah, the large, pretty high walls.
I mean, some of them get up to over 12 feet.
Yeah, they're existing that way too.
Elizabeth Rennie is not going to be bothered by this pool.
I think we've had, the only comment I think we had was from
Across the street.
Robinson. Okay.
About parking.
And that hopefully they're not going to give up any parking, and I
No, they're adding the porte cochere.
That's correct.
Right.
And that's very intentional. I mean, they
With it-
want to decrease the
Yeah.
intrusion on the street, which is understandably constrictive as it is, so.
And the gate, I think they said it's gonna be a 3-part gate, so they could actually put a car in front of the carriage house also. If they open that gate up, there's parking.
And they are, the intent is also on the 57 residents to move the air conditioning units so the drive to the right is accessible. as
Right
well.
here.
Correct.
Where is it? Sorry.
Over here.
Yeah, got it.
I'd just say from our standpoint architecturally and from the Tenari standpoint, we're trying to be minimalist. We're trying to appreciate and respect the integrity of what's there, context of the community. We're going back with very nice, handcrafted Ludovici roof tiles. Some steel and glass windows, they're limestone surrounds. everything.
yeah, no, I wish I saw the architectural drawings.
Which
Yeah,
one?
I'm
They
sorry.
didn't-
We submitted everything and I thought they were transmitted to you guys.
What?
It was all submitted to the bar, I think. Yeah, but I guess
They didn't pass it on to us. I
I do
went,
have, email folks.
I had a tour of it.
You did?
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, you
I
that's what you
went a
did
couple
then.
hours after you did, I guess.
No, no, it was it was well worth going on the tour.
The carriage house is basically. I mean,
Beside
it's
which you
not-
couldn't
you can't-
understand
you can't-
this.
It's non-occupiable now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, it's a big, dark.
Do you want me to flip through some of these, or do you want to take liberties with it? I can send this with you. But this PDF, if you want to go through, does show some of the existing, and then you can flip through it, but then gets down towards here to some of the
Okay, yeah,
architectural.
I guess, if I understand this correctly, 55 application, you're looking at for 14 days. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I need somebody to walk me through.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, there's only 7 drawings.
And then we do have.
Then you have the other part. This one,
I think most of
What
the
is
stuff
that?
that we're talking about is
Pardon?
dealing with some
Second.
non-conforming.
Right. 55 has. So this one, 57. 57, 50, so do they combine, this one submission had 8 requests for 8 variances, and the other submission has a request for 14 variances. So are you combining the two?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry, so this is 50, okay, so I'm sorry, 57 has 8 variances, and then 55 has 14. So total of 22.
Record.
So we need to kind of get going on these. if we're
Yeah,
gonna-
yeah, we really do.
So could you walk me through these then, please?
You want to walk us through
You,
them?
the architect should walk you through.
Here, I have it,
Site, stair, and patio. Oh, that's 57. Let's do 55 first.
You can go look at it, do it then.
Yeah, it's,
For me now. I can't do anything.
So, yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not, there's just a lot of them here.
So relative to the lot area, we're
not changing
not
that.
changing anything.
Right.
Basically, non-conforming to non-conforming.
Mhm.
Road frontage is the same, but we're not changing
I'm
it.
sorry, where are you, sir? Where are you?
On the list here.
No, I'm going by the submission.
I think you go on the.
Here?
That's
Yeah.
probably the better way to do it.
Lot area.
The link to the meeting.
No, that's all right. We're gonna just go through.
No, I mean,
We're just gonna go through variance by variance here. And then see
Well,
how-
you wanted to
and
see
if
what it
something
looks
comes up in relationship to the drawing, then we can point.
The last time they submitted the application, it was on a full Zoom meeting, I saw it.
Okay, the first variance is the lower house front window bump out.
Yeah. And the architect showed us a picture of it.
Okay.
It's a funny.
So we're proposing on the window to, just, we're basically trying to accentuate the vertical nature of that front page instead of having this more light into the exterior and also we think it enhances the aesthetic of the design.
What does this percentage mean?
Variance.
That's how much the variance is.
Right, in inches. It just happens to be a big percentage, but we're talking about 3 inches to 8 inches.
We're 3 inches now, we're 8.
Because the existing is so non-conforming, that makes That's why it's 99%,
Right.
even though it's only a 3-inch change or whatever.
Okay, that didn't make any- okay, got it.
75, it's existing.
And the site stair. Oh, okay, that's this here. It's this stair.
It doesn't exist right now.
New stair below walkway, that is just at that site
Correct.
stair, okay. And existing is non, okay, so you're putting in the stair, in, okay.
We're putting in the stair. There's no way essentially to get from this courtyard area or this side over to this side.
Okay.
So it's just an accessibility issue.
All right,
Is it 17 feet or is it 16?
Is it 16.3 or 17?
Yeah, maybe that's, the plan shows 16 feet. You have some,
Where is that on? Can you show us where that is?
It's,
Just where, is it this?
it's this stair here.
So is it 16.3?
It's 16.3 to the sidewall, but the stair is at the first stair is at 17.
so the closest point to the front is 16.3.
All right, that's what we want then. Right? Okay, so
This first tread down is
right,
17.
it's the 16.3, okay, okay.
Chairs on the downhill side. It's proposed at 4 feet 5 inches
off the side
off
there.
the side.
Okay, I don't see that marked here. Got that marked here? This
Yeah,
4.3 is that right in there?
That's correct, yes. Off the stone, so it'll sit on top of the stone.
See,
the
we
existing
need
stone.
all of these to be marked.
Oh.
We need everything to be
Why-
marked.
why is 1 foot 1?
Looking at now.
No, I see the 1 foot 1 and that's what I'm looking for here. And I don't see that. Okay.
Well, I don't know where that-
I'll be honest with you, I have no perspective on this.
Yeah,
It's
This
very,
is overwhelming,
very
and,
complicated.
You know, it's not, need a better presentation, I'm sorry. This is just overwhelming and it's not clear, and we're bouncing back and forth. And, you know, the amount of time we're gonna spend doing this tonight is just crazy. I'm not gonna do that.
And it's
Sorry.
late in the day.
We almost need this. Yeah.
I apologize for
well,
this.
I think the thing is that if you truly highlighted, and maybe the thing is, because we have so many variances here, you maybe be best off giving us a key, variance 1, and pointing to variance 1 and showing variance 1 on the drawings, and then going down the list that way, all right, so we can clearly see it, and then have these drawings in relationship to the variances, and then just tie the two back and forth. And I hate to do it to you, but you're asking, you have so many variances here that it's difficult for us, and we really, you know, we were kind of really only given this sheet to try to understand what's going on. And I kind of agree with John that we really just need a clearer presentation.
And I would just note that the reason it's so important to mark each one of these setbacks on the plan and a key is because when this goes to the BAR, they're gonna have to be able to see exactly what was granted by this board, like on a piece of paper. Because you can list it, but if you can't see it marked on the plan, you don't know where it is.
Well, I
you
mean,
know?
I guess the only two things I would say in response is, one, it is unfortunate that we were able to start at 9, you know, so it's a bit unfair. I mean, I wish to some extent we had ample opportunity because everybody's tired now. Number 2, it really is only 3 things we're talking about. It's not 22. It's everything else is as it exists. It's non-conforming. It's the portico shade being 1 feet 11 off the wall. It's the bump out being 5 inches extension. And we're talking about site stairs that just essentially follow grade. So nothing else is really
But I'm not seeing 3. I'm seeing however many here.
I know, but every one of those essentially is addressing what's existing now, unless we tore the whole structure down, those would be non-conforming
Okay, so
today, and they'll be.
Well, not really, because the thing is that
that
everyone,
was the case, sir. If that wasn't the case, it was just 3. Why are we presented with 22 variance requests?
Because everything we touch is non-conforming.
Okay, but you're in front of a committee that has to validate that. 22. I'm sorry, that's just.
Well, I'm willing to stay till 11 o'clock. We got rendering, I flew up here. It's my son's first football game, and you all are tired, and I've been given 2 minutes, and everybody else was given 2 hours. So, I mean, I think it's a bit unfair for both the Tenaris and for me. I mean, I'm happy to come back. I just think it's unfair because, I mean, I think you guys are tired, and I'm tired too, but.
Well, no, I'm not, sir, I'm not tired.
No.
It's just very hard to follow. I'm sorry,
Let's go
it
through
is.
Let's go through it.
well,
I've got renderings of everything, and we can walk through every single one. I'll stay here for 3 hours.
but we really should have been, that information really should come to us beforehand, all right? You know, right now, you know, like I said, you know, as far as the submission to the BZA, this was the submission to the BZA, okay, with this, okay? So, you know, we really were not giving clear information about what was being proposed. And it really is not noted on the drawing, and the variances should be marked, you know, clearly what they are on this drawing, and they're not, all right?
So the 3 things you mentioned, each have how many variances associated with each one? That's what we have to look at.
Port co-share.
So
Start
you
with the
can't,
port
I
co-share.
mean,
And I mean, again, I'm kind of walking through all of them. John, you may have some insight into this.
A considerable amount of time was spent going through each of the changes and highlighting them here. But,
They're not.
well, actually, they are. This is the portico, this is the side yard, not the front yard. We were looking into the front. Go down and look under side yard setbacks. Side yard setbacks. Go down to portico chair. I just saw there's 2 feet 11 and that is.
1 foot 11. So where is 1 foot?
Yeah, no. Section, it's a side yard setback for the portico. Actually, they have portico chair left side 4 inches, but we see 11.
I just don't see it on the.
No, I see it.
Okay, you see it. I don't see it.
so do you know out of this list, how many pertain to just the portico share? Yeah, we can tick through those.
Yeah, it is on the front setback portion. Yard setback, there's 1 point on it, on the front part.
But
Proposed condition.
can you tick off on this list, which ones pertain to this?
Okay, so on the portico share,
Let's put a tick mark or somehow designate.
Here you go.
so on the portico share here. This is the current code, the existing condition is not applicable. Proposed condition, 4 foot 5 inches. So this portion here. What we're talking about is this portion that is off of the front road. And that is on this this elevation here, where that front point
Right.
comes off of the road. I can show it to you.
Oh, no,
So as I look at this, it's variance number 3 and variance number 9.
I
Oh, the
mean,
means.
Yeah. And I promise I'm not trying to argue. I want to do, I'm trying to be very understanding, conciliatory. I think it feels a lot more complex because of the wire. It's just everything to be.
well, there's two ways to look at this. One way is if you're not changing, there's a lot of pre-existing non-conforming.
Exactly.
So
Let's let the attorney finish.
I'm sorry.
well, I'm just saying that it would be a lot simpler if, and I think you're doing it, just go through the footprints or the things on the plan that are actually changing. And
that's what I'm saying. I think they're short.
right, the issue though is that we also need to, if you're not really asking for variances, you're just noting pre-existing non-conforming. Those should be, I mean, we should be able also to put from there to here because the board is not going to be actually granting variances. So it
I'm
would,
sorry, if, let's just take number 1, okay?
the lot area,
Number 1, lower house, front window bump out, right?
this one,
Yeah, I mean, it's a very small, I mean,
Yeah.
the reality of it is, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
right,
But we still have to grant a variance on it.
yes.
So we still have to look at it and go through the 5 different thingies on that, right? Because that's what you have to do.
Yes, you do.
Because even if it's not conforming now, they're changing it.
Anything they're changing that makes it more non-conforming has to have a variance.
And that's why we have 22 of them. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, just,
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did not cite, the front yard setback of the carriage house being only 24 feet because they're not changing it. We only discussed things that we changed, like the addition of the portico chair with the structure being closer to the side yard, the extension of the front window.
The dormers.
a walkway that doesn't exist, it's
So
what exists now,
we did not.
which is not a problem. None of this is a problem.
Existing not.
It's just, it's a process.
Yeah, but all of these.
Yeah, but at the
then
same
all
time,
of
we got
these are
14,
changing.
we have 14 that have changed.
Yes, absolutely.
We have 14, so it's not like 1 or 2 or 3 on this one print.
No.
You basically have 14 things that have changed. Okay, and on this one,
But I have
14 and 8. And to me, they're just not presented clearly enough for this board to make a decision at this point in time. I think, they either need to be color coded or whatever. I mean, like usually we're trying to focus in on 1 or 2 variances here, but we have 14 and 8. Okay.
I think that's fair.
And like I said, the next meeting would be Zoom. All right.
I don't mind.
We're not gonna make it come out in the rain, okay?
The one piece that to me, that I'm not sure I quite understand, is on the fireplace. Are you actually cutting across the border between the 2 properties? So to me, that's more problematic because I mean, if you combine the lots, you wouldn't do that. But I don't know how you can keep the 2 lots separate and have a piece of building that goes across just because, what would that mean? Because to me, everything else is fine, but that one, I just
I
don't
mean, you're
know.
trying to take advantage of the fact that you're keeping the 2 lots separately, but now then you're kind of cheating.
Right.
Is this one family?
It is.
It is.
And then why are they keeping the lots separate?
I think to John's point earlier.
It's hard to combine.
The certificate of occupancy and some challenges with putting them together, but there's one family will maintain ownership. And
Then,
I think the way you handle it from a legal stand, I'm not an attorney,
Right.
but I think what you do is you could grant a prescriptive right of way that's ad infinitum or
But
whatever.
I don't know if we
Is that
could
there
do that,
now?
right? To me, that would be, I would worry that if we granted that variance, that would mean we're saying it's okay to cut across a property
No.
line, and that would bother me.
That's true. This is not here now, that
That is not
chimney,
here
oh, okay, okay, so that is a real issue.
Right, so that would be the one in
Um,
terms of, rather than just a process of explaining, that may be one that would be problematic.
And there's three that we felt like were gonna be addressed, that, the parking, and the bump out, and that's, we felt like the other ones were pretty benign relative to.
Now, the
Yeah.
parking, you're adding a spot?
We are.
Okay, because the parking, it says existing condition 3 spots, proposed condition 2 spots.
It's because they suggest that this area here is now parkable, but it's really not. And I think that was just the existing.
But I think you could park there under the new condition.
You could,
Right.
and we're gonna maintain accessibility to
So
it,
I would,
but they want to plant it and make it more of a nice,
Okay, but then on the other side, it's existing condition 1 spot, and now you're creating 2 spots, so you're.
cumulatively, we're suggesting that.
but is there another way that you could address the fireplace without cutting across the property lines? Because I think that would be.
I think there's ways to do it. The fireplace could be internal to the house, right?
Right.
It's up to you and
No, I
the
agree.
property owner.
But I mean, could we even grant that variance?
Well, it's the same owner. I would have to think about easements or, I mean, it's really messy. You could sort of grant each other a permanent easement so that the problem with that is if you separate the lots and sell one, now you've got this encroachment that this board has allowed.
Right.
I really have to give that some legal thought. And I would also like to talk to the BAR attorney to see if this came up and did they have any solution? I mean, that's a real issue. I would like some time legally to think about this. In the meantime,
Have they been to the BAR? I didn't realize
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
and this did not come up, this.
We
chimney
discussed
thing?
it. There was sort of that same conversation. If it's one owner and they granted themselves an easement,
It would have
it
to
would be
be,
like a fence
yeah.
post essentially, although I know it's obviously more.
I mean, you can do that. I've had similar situations in Montebello where two properties, one owner, there was a reciprocal type of easement granted in perpetuity, but it's kind of messy. It's just not, it's not clean, but I wouldn't mind talking to the BAR attorney about that. And in the meantime,
So these
your point.
variances should be grouped by the thing that's causing them, right?
Either that or you could just color code them, for us, basically.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think if you color coded them and then just, I know I have like kids in my, company that, like to do this.
Yeah.
Fix this for
me,
me, okay?
okay?
And they color everything of the points and,
Or you could do both.
yeah.
and it
Yeah,
would
with
be
3
helpful.
sections
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
And color code it.
We just need a little more clarity than we're getting now, right?
It's just I think we were under the impression that it was just, most of it was so benign that it would be easy. And I think the complexity of it is just trying to navigate every detail. So that's fine.
And so we'll be by Zoom next time.
No problem.
And what?
By
Zoom.
Next
Oh,
meeting will
yeah,
be by
yeah,
Zoom.
yeah. Okay.
But I mean, at least for me, problematically, I mean, I don't bump out or have an issue with the chimney wall. I'd want to
I
understand.
think we could
legally.
possibly deal with that differently from an architectural standpoint. And we sort of liked it as an expressed element architecturally. It's more of intentional design move that we were hoping that some of the zoning challenge and the easement challenges would be surmountable based on the fact that it was one owner. It wasn't an effort necessarily to try to slide one under the table. It just,
Oh, no, you're being very clear on it. You're showing the property line, and you're, so it's pretty easy to pick up.
I think it'd be helpful, once you've done that, separate them out, that we can have that, and then we can go visit the property to see what, it's kind of hard to see because it's very complex property.
it is, yeah.
It is, even on site, it's complex.
You don't think that it's gonna get easier when you're walking around it, because you might have to climb up on
Up
a
and
12-foot
down.
wall and, yeah.
No, but it definitely, I mean, at least for me, looking at this, and then when I went to see it, I had a much better understanding of it.
Yeah, I only saw it
Don't
from
see
the outside. I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
do, I
and
didn't
and
do,
Matthew, I have
I didn't
to
do it.
walk me around.
Yeah, I didn't do a
And
walkthrough.
explain everything, so that was very helpful.
Do you want to open the public hearing? I just want to note for the record that it was duly noticed, duly published, and do we have? mailing?
Certification of mailing.
You'll note for the record, it was duly noticed and published. I don't know if
So I'm just curious, so if we were considering it and going through the 5 criteria, could we do something like, we're gonna look at the port cochere. Now there's, 3 variants associated with it, but can we consider that as one element and go through the 5, or do we have to go through the 5 for each of the variants associated with?
I think
port
we could
cochere?
go through based on the 3 elements of change.
Right.
Yeah.
If that's what we narrow it down
Yeah,
to,
that's
3
right.
elements of change.
Well, we grouped the last one.
you
Yeah.
can do that.
And don't forget there's the dormers in the.
And a lot of the door, just to that point, which I guess we can address, is the mostly for egress compliance, code compliance. So we're introducing dormers so that we comply with the International Building Code relative to the egress requirements. So
I assume also you're adding a little bit of light to it, because right, it's a completely dark.
It's just for horses, for
Right.
God's sake.
Right.
Poor horses.
yeah.
Okay, so do we want to,
Open the public.
oh,
hearing.
good, okay. Like a motion to open the public hearing? All in favor?
Aye.
Public, anyone in the public out there?
There's one person on the line. Does anybody in the public have anything to say regarding this application?
So you'll adjourn the
We'll
public
adjourn
hearing
the public
until the next.
until the
meeting.
next.
Okay.
Okay,
And so are we tabling? Or are you asking us to return? Are we gonna have to do another mail out?
no, you would just return.
Yeah,
No, the public hearing's been opened, it's been noticed,
Right.
it's adjourned, but it's not closed. So you don't have to do any more mailings or publishing.
And then it'll be, is it 30 days to the next hearing? Is that right?
About,
Approximately.
whatever the first Wednesday is in
October.
October.
All right, well, thanks for your time and feedback's helpful and
Okay.
we'll come back.
Have a good flight back.
Take care.
All right.
Be safe.
bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a long way to come.
Yeah.
Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that.
No worries. At least the weather's nice.
Well, that's too bad. I know.
They didn't give us any information,
No.
like I looked at it 3 or 4 times, and like I said, I even went there, and, there's just, the number of variances are overwhelming without a clear explanation.
No,
of what they
because
are.
everything is so,
Everything's a variance.
Yes.
Everything, right? And you could sort of color code it. Just look here, boom, boom, boom. And most of them, 3 inches versus 8 inches, go ahead, but I just want to understand where that is,
You made a good point, John, is that we have to approve it. and We are a board and we have to go through this. You can't just say, well, looks all right. You know? Okay.
All right, on to the next.
Yes.
Do we need to do anything else besides close the meeting at this point? Everything else all right, like make a motion to close the meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Everybody, no one wants to say, no, I want to stay here.
Can I keep this?
All right, we got our minutes to the meeting done. Good. Because we had like 3 or 4 changes from the last time, so that's why I said, why don't you just give me one clear copy?
Can I just give these old agendas to you to recycle?
So I can go home and see what windows are leaking.
Oh, yeah.
Fireplace, I mean, boy, my strong advice to them would be, don't mess, I mean.
I think with this one, I'll want.
Because you don't know 20 years from now what the ownership situation's gonna
Right.
be.
No, suppose they get divorced.
Right.
Right. The fireplace could become like a big battle in the
Or
divorce.
he even said we want to retain the flexibility to sell that.
Right.
Residential.
So
Oh, that's the reason.
it's
Okay.
selling.
And that's why
You don't want to.
don't want to grant all those non-conforming variances, right?
Right.
Just be aware of the non-conformity, but only grant the ones you have to grant
Right.
because they're changing them.
But it is, I mean, it's a very thoughtful design.
It looks great.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, they're gonna spend a ton of money.
Yeah. Right.
I saw,
Put it this way,
saw the,
they'll never be able to
rendering
sell it even
video
what they're
when,
putting in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is this where Tommy Love used to live?
No, she lives up by the Ford mansion.
Around, not too far, but around the bend.
Okay.
All right, gang, this was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Well, we got, John, are we gonna have any new ones, or are we just gonna have this one next month?
You
They have to-
may have one other, but I don't know if they'll submit his paperwork in time. We have a fence that is,
If I need
we
it.
have a fence that was put up on Laurel Road.
Hi, everybody.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
duplicate copy of that.
I can show my love.
Okay, she's doing fine, she just was texting me during the meeting, day 2 wasn't bad, she said.
Of the others. We had, they had the, like this here, I think it was.
Well, for which application?
Just-
55 and 57?
Okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Don't go near any screens.
Oh, gosh. That weather sounded horrible. It's scary out there.
We have a little koi pond in the backyard, and I said to my husband, it's gonna be overflowing and the fish are gonna
This
be
is
out on the
55
ground
and
or
57.
something.
And then, one other thing is the public notice for the meetings, for the, all of them.
Yeah, it was one notice that I sent out. Let me make a
Thank
copy.
you, guys.
Good night, Elise. Let me,
Home safe.
Thank you.
This is pretty amazing, this thing. When did they install this?
just a week ago.
Really?
Why won't it let me in? That's